Good morning and namaste to all of you. So let's start our Tuesday class with these Vedic prayers. Om Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parbrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Bhu Bhavaswaha, Tatsavitra Varenayam, Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi, Diyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Asto ma sadgamya, tamso ma jyotirgamya, mrityorma amritam gamya. Om se navavatu se no vinatu se viryam karvavahi. Tejasvi navadhitamastu ma vidvishavahi. Om shanti shanti shanti. Om. Let's open our Mahabharata books. On page number 327, and this is part 2 of these books. And this fierce Mahabharata war is going on. And we saw that last week, Arjuna took that little oath, or I should say big oath. He said, by sunset, if I don't kill Jayadratha, I will burn myself in fire. So now, in order to protect Jayadratha, Dronacharya, he made the 3 views. It's like 3 big circles to protect him, so that before sunset, Arjun can't even reach to him. So the title of this chapter is The 3 Views. Dawn is yet to break over Kurukshetra, and Yudhishthir is the first one up to greet 14th day of war. As always, he begins his morning with worship. When he has finished, the sun appears on the rim of the world, and the birds in the trees around the battlefield hymn the brilliant Dev. As Yudhishthir rises from his prayers, Krishna walks into his tent. See, whether there's a war or no war, no matter what's happening, the day should start with prayers. Okay? These great warriors did it. We should do that too. Daily prayers, in fact, twice, in the morning and in the evening also. Did you sleep well, my lord? Krishna smiles. I did, and now, seeing your serene face, I know that no harm can befall me. With Krishna come Bhima, Dhrishtyuman, Satyaki, Shikhandi, Sahadev, Nakul, and Draupadi's sons. Chekitan, Dhrishtaketu, the 5 Keke brothers, wearing red mail and looking like Indra Gopak insects. You youths, Gatotkach, Drupad, and Virat. One by one, Yudhishthir embraces them all. Those lords of the earth, the soldiers of Dharam, are solemn on their momentous 14th morning of the war. Yudhishthir turns again to Krishna. My lord, we rely on you to see us through this war to bring us victory. More than any other day, we depend on your grace today. He takes the dark one's hand. Arjun must keep his vow, Krishna. With you as a Sarthi, he cannot fail. Krishna is full of light, full of faith. He says, there is no Kshatriya in all the world like your brother. When Jayadrath dies, the Kauravas will know that Arjun's vows are made not just of words, but arrows. Have you seen the omens of the earth and the sky, of the water, the wind, and the birds? They all cry out that you will prevail today and that the Kauravas are doomed. Yudhishthir, I am here with you. I swear Arjuna will keep his oath. Arjuna walks in and he seems entirely calm. He touches Yudhishthir's feet and those of the others older than him. Yudhishthir embraces his brother. Your face is as bright as Krishna's, as if the 2 of you have some secrets you are keeping from us. I am content. Arjun, seeing you like this, I have no doubt that Jayadrath will die before the sun sets. But if there is some good news you have, won't you share it with us? Arjun recounts last night's dream. Still vivid in his mind, he says, Shiva's own astra is mine to summon. Jayadrath will not see the sunset today. The word goes out about Arjun's dream, and soon the Pandav camp echoes with the news. Conches and trumpets blare, and excited soldiers make for the battlefield, eager for the fighting to begin. No one doubts anymore that Arjun will keep his oath. Who will stop him when Shiva himself has blessed the Pandav? Krishna climbs into Satyaki's chariot to leave Yudhishthir's tent, for they have both come as Yadavs to the early council. But when they arrive at the stables where the horses are stalled, Krishna in a Sarthi again for the day's battle. The avatar goes into the enclosure like any charioteer with his own hands. He rubs down Arjun's Gandharva horses. He washes them lovingly, then drapes mail over their smooth bodies while they stand for him in delight, nuzzling their faces against him. Fortunate indeed is the Pandav who has Vishnu's avatar for his Sarthi. Krishna places his warriors' weapons in the chariot where Arjun can reach them easily. Finally, he hoists Hanuman's banner over the gleaming rath and brings the chariot to his cousin's tent. A young servant is strapping the golden mail on his master, which Indra gave Arjun. Krishna comes in. Your rath is here, Kshatriya, and your Sarthi is ready for battle. Last of all, Arjun sets his kirit, worked with unearthly gemstones, on his head, picks up the Gandiv, and the two of them emerge. Completely majestic, they mount the white chariot. Krishna takes the reins, while his pale chargers toss their necks and neigh eagerly in anticipation of battle. Regally, they make their way towards the field, the early sun blazing on Hanuman's banner, the Vanar alive on it. At the front, Arjun says to Satyaki, in our excitement, we must not forget Drona has sworn to take Yudhishthir captive. What better opportunity could we have than today? Satyaki, your task to protect Yudhishthir will be no less than mine. You are more than equal to it, and if, my friend, I leave my brother's life in your hands. Satyaki says, Yudhishthir will be safe as long as there is breath in my body. Across Kurukshetra, they see Drona's chestnut horses flitting here and there as the Brahman forms the three views, one behind the other. In the van facing the Pandav force is the Shakat view, square and solid, and carved phalanx. Behind the Shakat, Drona forms a lotus, a Padam view, a subtle variation of the Chakra in which Abhimanyu died. Like an artist painting, he forms the indrawn petals of the lotus. Near the last of these, like a stem, Drona deploys the Kaurav Maharathiks in their chariots, the final and the most powerful line of defense. He arrays them straight as a needle, a suchi, one after the other, with the precious Jayadrat at the eye of the needle, which faces away from the field. With the dawn, Jayadrat is full of anxiety again when he hears the Pandav conches and sees Arjun ride out to the front and stand stern and erect in the white chariot. Jayadrat begins to quake. Drona lays a kindly hand on him. The three views are 6 crosses long. Jayadrat, 6 crosses will separate you from the front lines. 100,000 horsemen, 60,000 chariots, 3 million foot soldiers, 14,000 elephants, and then 6 Maharathikas, each one more powerful than all these together, stand between Arjun and you. Not even the army of Devlok could break past such a defense before the sun sets. Your eyes will see Surya Dev rise tomorrow, but not Arjun's. Jayadrat is hardly consoled. He peers across 6 crosses and sees only Arjun. He sees every feature on the Pandav's face as if he already stood next to him. Jayadrat is terribly certain that all Drona's assurances will not keep Arjun away. 6 crosses and hundreds of thousands of fierce Kshatriyas separate the Pandav from him. But when he sees Krishna's dark form at Arjun's chariot head, he knows that not 6 oceans would be enough. Today, Drona sets himself at the rim of the Pandav view. Between him and the Pandav army lies the solid square of the Shakat, one of Duryodhan's bravest brothers. Dhurmshal. begs to command this phalanx. Drona lets him meet Arjun's first charge. With his legion of bowmen around him, Dhrumashan takes his proud place at the head of Duryodhan's army. Duryodhan's brother is certain Arjun will not pass him. I won't let him through. Arrogant Arjun shall taste Durmarshan's valor today. Next chapter, Arjun the Magnificent. Arjun's armor radiates lances of fear across Kurukshetra. The Gandiv glitters, already piercing Jagrat's heart. To that king, hidden behind the teeming Kaurav army, Arjun seems like the god of death. The Pandav raises the Devdat and blows a long, echoing blast. The Kaurav front lines cover at the sound, and when Krishna joins a deep note to it on the Panch Janne, Jayadrat whimpers in his chariot. Conches resound on both sides for the fighting to begin. Arjun raises his arm high and cries to his Satri, let us burn this shoddy cart. Right at them, Krishna, the sun waits for no man. Krishna flicks his whip over his horses' sleek necks. Durmarshan roars like five tigers and charges out of his view to meet Arjun. Their bows streaming, the cousins fly at each other. Durmarshan fights as never before. And for a while it seems he will hold Arjun up. Arrow cuts down arrow in fight and glances of warrior's stubborn mail. But the equal contention lasts only a few moments. Suddenly Arjun lifts his archery and heads roll off neck in a macabre pageant. When Arjun fights like this, no one can see where he bends his bow, or draws another arrow from his magic quivers, or where he aims it true as death. They see just a blur in his chariot. At times it seems he hardly moves at all, but enemy soldiers fall in waves before him, blood spilling onto the dark earth from their carved limbs, and wounds through which their spirits fly out to the invincible hosts waiting above Kurukshetra to take them to other realms. Arjuna disserves their heads to so casually, as if he snipped malik flowers from the stems to offer Shiva for worship. The air is a murky opacity of ghosts and screams, not a sound from the Pandav, save that of his bowstring and the hum of his arrows. When 5,000 Kaurav soldiers have died in moments, and Duryodhan's brothers realizes that today Arjun also fights as never before, Durmarshan bolts and his men go after him. In the time it takes to tell Arjun has smashed the first of Drona's views, the Shakat collapses at his onslaught. And far away at the eye of the needle, he means to thread with a mighty astra today. Jayadrat is near collapse. As Arjun's Gandharv horses flashed forward, Dushashan appears on his path with a legion of elephants roaring an arrogant challenge. But to the Pandav, it makes no difference whether it is Durmarshan or Dushashan, horses or elephants. All that matters is that they come between him and his quarry, and he will not let them stand. Grey beasts fall as facilely as men did before them, some shot with a score of wooden shafts all over their hulking bodies, others with just one silver arrow through their hearts. The Gandiv sings, calling the enemy to the ceremony of death. Moving through his legion, Arjun comes face to face with Dushashan himself. He covers his cousin's elephant in a mantle of fire. He shreds the weapons in his hands, sprouts red flowers all over the Kaurav's body, and Dushashan cannot stand Arjun any longer than his brother Durmarshan did. He also turns his beast around and lumbers away quickly. On plunges Arjun, seeing just Jayadrat before him, and all the others merely obstacles to his reaching that king, his target. It was so when he was a boy and Drona's Shishya, and so it remains. Drona watches him fly at the Padam view and is reminded of the day when he gathered his students under a tree in which he had set a wooden bird and asked each one what he saw. Arjun saw only the bird's eye and brought it down. Today Jayadrat is the wooden bird and the soldiers guarding him just the leaves in the tree like an arrow. Arjun makes for his prey, brushing the leaves aside. The white chariot storms the rim of the second view, and the drone rides up to stop his favorite Shishya. Arjun folds his hands to his master and says, I have come to avenge my child. Once you said you made no difference between Ashwatthama and me, and I pray you still feel the same way. Bless me, Acharya, and let me into your view. Drone raises his bow in reply with a smile. He cries, you cannot enter my view without defeating me. Though Drone was the main conniver in yesterday's treachery, Arjun cannot find it in himself to hate his master. Without rancor, he loses his first volley at his guru, and those shafts are deadlier for the detachment with which they are shot. Drone answers with a scorching salvo of his own, and a tremendous duel begins. How well each one knows the other's mind, how perfectly they anticipate every shaft, but they are not master and pupil anymore. Arjun is more than his acharya's equal. The Pandav breaks Drone's bow before the pieces fall to the chariot floor. The master has another one out. For an hour they duel, and at first one has a slender advantage than the other. They fight at the farthest reaches of the genius, until abruptly Krishna cries, it isn't the Drone you have sworn to kill before the sun sets. Time flits by and every moment is precious. Leave the Brahman here and we must break into the view. Krishna swerves his horses away. He drives them around Drone's chariot in a pradakshina. Smiling, Arjun cries to the Acharya, my lord, I must leave you. Drone roars, what is this, Arjun? You ride away from an enemy without beating him? You have never done this before. Flashing away to storm the Padam view, Arjun calls back, you are not my enemy but my guru. Bless me that I succeed. The words are borne to Drone on the wind. By the time he has lost fighting his master, arrows flare thicker than ever from the Pandav's bow, and Kaurav soldiers fall before him in the lurid waves, and a swell of mortal screams. At Arjun's wheels, guarding his rear and flanks, ride the Panchal brothers, Yudmanu and Utmanuj, as they have since the war begins. Kritvarman comes to challenge Arjun, and with him Sudakshina, lord of the Kambojas, and Shrutayus. Their arrows darken the sky, but those shafts themselves are livid and illumine dim Kurukshetra like strange lamps flying. Drone swirls around at the mouth of the lotus and rides after Arjun. His careful plans, foiled by the Pandav breezing past him, the master dashes after his disciple in anger. The gifted Kritvarman holds Arjun up, and it seems that Arjun hesitates to unleash his fiercer missiles at the Yadav. Krishna cries, he is one of the 6 that murdered your child. Don't stay your hand because he is my cousin. He is a traitor and deserves to die. No sooner has he spoken than Kritvarman is struck down with the 10 sizzling shafts that break his bow and smash through his armor, so he falls screaming. His Sarthi flies from the field with his bleeding Kshatriya. After Kritvarman departs, Sudakshina cannot resist Arjun for more than a few moments. The Pandav sweeps him aside and plunges on deeper into the view. A better warrior than Sudakshina looms in his path. Sarutyudh, who wields Varun's mace. The mace is a magical weapon and no one can kill Shrutyudh as long as he carries it. When he casts it at an enemy, it divides itself into 100 maces and strikes like a flock of thunderbolts, and then it flies back to his hand. But Varun had said to Shrutyudh, he must never cast the mace at anyone who bear no arms, for then it would turn on the one who cast it. Shrutyudh harries Arjun with the sea god's mace, but he finds he can never strike the Pandav because of Krishna's lightning maneuvers in the Gandharva chariot. Forgetting that the Sarthi carries no weapons, Shrutyudh flings the mace at Krishna. The occult Gada takes Krishna in his chest, but softly as flowers. With a roar of its own and anger that it has been cast on an unarmed man, the ocean mace flashes back at Shrutyudh and smashes his head like a peach. As soon as he falls, Varun's weapon vanishes. From Kurukshetra, it returns to the Lord of Tides. Seeing Shrutyudh dying, Sudakshina turns back into battle against Arjun, but the duel lasts just moments, and the Pandav kills the Lord of the Cambodges with an arrow through his heart. Panic takes the Kaurav army. Drona roars above the pandemonium to his legions to surround Arjun. They must not let him move ahead. But who can stand before the Pandav today? Drona rushes forward himself, covering Arjun in a fever of arrows. Arjun burns them all with a Brahmastra, and they fall away as ashes. 50,000-foot soldiers run at Arjun's chariot, but he is dauntless. He is implacable as he cuts a way of fire before him with unearthly missiles, parting the dark tide of men in streams of blood. On through the incurring mire, the golden chariot plows, as if no army stood in its way, until two heroic brothers challenge the Pandava, Shrutyuj and Achyuta, dead Sudakshina's friends, who have rashly sworn to avenge him. They fly unexpectedly at Arjun from two sides, and Shrutyuj strikes Krishna unconscious. When the Pandav's chariot lurches to a stop, Achyut casts a javelin at Arjun. A lance like a green star and strikes him deep in his side. A roar goes up from the Kaurav army as Arjun reels and the Gandhiv slips from his hand. The Pandav totters against his flagstaff. Arjun is slain, cry the Kaurav soldiers. But in their excitement, they don't press home their brief advantage quickly enough. With a cry, Krishna recovers, seizes the reins again, and veers away from Shrutyu's ominous fire. By Krishna's grace, Arjun's wound is stanched and a jade lance falls out. Quicker than thinking, the Pandav invokes the Indrastra to quell the 1,000 arrows that flare at him from every side. With another shaft of power, he cuts down the two brothers on either side of him. A single arrow which severs Shatru's head flies on an uncanny trajectory and crashes into Achyut's heart. Seeing four of their Kshatriyas die in moments, the common core of soldiers run in panic from Arjun. The Padam view is breached, and every instant the golden chariot flies nearer its quarry, hidden fearfully in the needle's eye. Next chapter is at the rim of the red lotus. Beside himself to see Arjun storm into the Padam view, Duryodhan rides widely up to Drona. He cries at his Acharya, Arjun smashes through your legions as if they are not there at all. Your Shakat view fell apart at his first charge, and he has broken into your lotus as if it is made of petals, not soldiers. We do everything in our power to please you, Acharya, but you betray our cause. Your heart is not with me, but with the Pandavas. You stood at the view's rim, and I know that no one could pass you unless you let them. Drona begins to speak, but Duryodhana rages. My lord, the deadliest enemy is the one you have taken to your heart in trust. He is like a knife hidden in a pot of honey. I believed you, Drona, when you said Jayadratha would be saved. But look how Arjun flies at him like a narach. Why sunset? Jayadratha will die before noon. I should have let him ride home. He would have been safer in his own country. I have sacrificed my brother-in-law to Yam. Why he would be safer facing Yam than Arjun if my cousin reaches him? You must stop him, Drona. You are this army's Senapati. Stung, Drona replies, you saw me try, but he is as quick as the mind. I am old, Duryodhan, past my prime. Most warriors I can still contain, but this is Arjun. There is no one like him. And then his horses are Gandharv steeds. Krishna is his Sarthi. But I could keep another vow today. With Arjun away, I could take Yudhishthir. Let a younger man pursue Arjuna. None better than you, Duryodhan. I will hearten your men to see you lead them from the front, and you can avenge your four friends he killed. Duryodhana's face turns darker. Do you mock me, Acharya? That you send me after a Kshatriya who swept past you so easily? How can I stop him when the great Drona could not? You saw him strike Kritvarman down. You stood at the lip of your view like Shiva with his pinnacle. But even as you watched him, he killed Shrutyudha, Shrutyus, Achyuts, and Sudakshina as if they were children. And you ask me to ride after Arjun? Acharya, you are our only hope. Everything depends on you. You must save us today. A smile softens Drona's face. You are like my own son, Duryodhan. I wouldn't send you to your death. Look, I have this armor I have kept just for you. He shows Duryodhan that mail like treasure in his hands. Duryodhan gasps. This is Brahma's own kavach. Its links are ancient mantras, and not even the Devastras can pierce it. Indra wore this armor when he fought Vritasur. Come, let me help you put it on you. Duryodhan climbs down from his chariot and allows Drona to wrap him in Brahma's golden mail. Wearing it, he feels a surge of magic in his blood. He kneels before his guru for his blessing. Laughing, Drona blesses him. Duryodhan says, "Forgive me for what I said rashly to you." Even as a father forgives his son, replies Drona, now go like the wind and you will beat Arjuna today. As if Brahma's armor touched him with unworldly courage, Duryodhan rides roaring after the Pandavas. Seeing their king fly to the rescue, the corps of soldiers stream back into battle. This is at the very heart of the red lotus. Meanwhile, only Arjun and Yuyutmanu and Utmoj at his chariot wheels have broken into the Padam view. Drone turns back to the rim of the lotus where Drishtadhyuman and the Pandav army storm the phalanx that Arjun has breached. The two armies meet like the golden Ganga and the midnight blue Yamuna flowing into each other during a flood. But Drone fights as if for his life, and the Pandav legions can make no headway against him. The Brahmins' astras light up Kurukshetra. They consume Yudhishthir's legions, and inexorably Drone forges mirror Yudhishthir himself. Duryodhan's brothers fight beside their Senapati. Bhim and his brothers face Vimisrati, Chitrasen and Vikarana. Vind and Anuvind face Virat, and Shalya confronts Yudhishthir. Dushashan and Satyaki battle. Shakuni meets Madri's sons. Shikhandi and Bahilika fight, while Ghatotkach and Alambush lock again in a vicious Mayak duel. Far away beyond Arjun forging on alone through the Padam view, Ashwathama and Karan stand guard over Jayadratha, with Bhurishu and his army, Kripashal and Durjay. Bahilik and Drishtaman duel briefly. Then Draupadi's sons stream forward, an army by themselves, and their battle with Bahilak is like the war of the five senses against the mind. Satyaki and Dushashan light the air between them with indigenous shafts that extinguish each other in flight. But Dushashan fights in inspiration today and finds his mark with a blinding arrow that strikes Satyaki unconscious in his chariot. The Yadav's Sarthi rides away from battle until his warrior recovers. Satyaki is up in a moment, flaming back at Dushashan. Drishtuman rides at Drona and a refulgent duel breaks out. Duryodhan's sharpness has strung his acharya deeply, and he fights beyond himself now to reach Yudhishthir at any cost. The old master overwhelms Drishtuman. He smashes his chariot, kills the horses and Sarthi of his old enemy's sons. Growling, Drishtuman seizes up a sword and leaps onto Drona's horses. Nimble as the wind, he runs along their backs at his master. This is not less than deliverance for the Brahman. The man born to kill him makes an absurdly easy target. Drona raises his bow with an astra that will blow the fire prince to pieces at such short range. He draws back his bowstring, and for a moment that lasts a life, Drishtaman sees death face to face. He springs forward along the horses' backs. Knowing he cannot reach Drona before the Acharya's arrow blasts him to bits, for an eternity Drona's bowstring remains drawn back, and with hallucinatory clarity Drishtaman sees every detail of the master's powerful hand, his fingers, the rings on them, the deep wrinkles on his face, the smile on his lips, every hair in his beard, and look almost of surprise in his eyes that the Kshatriya born to kill him makes such a rash gift of his own life. All this is emblazoned on Drishtaman's mind. For another eternity, Drona's hand remains quivering where it has pulled back his bowstring. Drishtaman wants to shut his eyes, but finds he cannot. Then he hears a noise deafening the huge silence that has fallen over the world. The sound of an arrow cleaving the air, loud as a tempest. Drishtaman waits in that awful moment for the shaft to tear his chest open. Instead, he sees a flicker of shock in Drona's eyes. He sees the tremor that passes through the master's hand. He sees his bowstring sag and its arrow drop onto the chariot floor. He hears its chatter mingle with the swish of Satyaki's timely barb humming past after it severs Drona's bowstring, saving Drishtaman's life. Drupad's son still stands petrified, but Satyaki flashes up, sweeps his friend out of his daze and into his chariot before Drona can recover. With a feral roar at being done out of his priceless prey, whose life he held in the palm of his hand for that moment. Drona seizes up another bow and covers the dashing Satyaki in his swath of arrows. But the Yadav in his fleeting chariot fights like his master, Arjuna, today. Quick as light, he breaks Drona's boasting again, and while the furious Brahman reaches for another weapon, Satyaki strikes him deep with the darts like fire. Drona cries to his Sathi, ride at Yudhishthir, it is him we must take to him. But Satyaki cries to his charioteer, the Brahman who takes up arms is more terrible than any Kshatriya. For his pride is great and his mind is subtle. Drona is the heart of the Kaurav army. Ride at him, friend, fly between him and Yudhishthira. In a steep swirl, Satyaki confronts Drona again. Drona attacks the Yadav in wrath, meaning to kill him now. But Arjun's pupil fights back magnificently, and the war pauses around them to watch their duel. Drona mutters to himself between burning shafts. He fights like Bhishma or Arjun, like Bhargav or Kartikeya. Arjun's Shishya is his Guru's peer. Twice more Satyaki breaks Drona's bow in his hand. The Acharya's face is red. He loses an Agneastra of 100 billowing flames to consume Satyaki, his chariot and all. The raging weapon used commonly against a whole legion flares at the Yadav in flash fire. A lesser Kshatriya may have panicked to see that inferno. But serene Satyaki poised, quicksilver Satyaki has learned well from his master. He invokes a Varunastra of the Lord of the Sea and douses Drona's fireball in a crested blue wave, tall as a hill. Not only the awestruck soldiers of both armies on the field, but Devs and Gandharvas, Charans and Apsaras have gathered in the sky to watch this duel. Drenched in water from Satyaki's Varunastra, his shaft of Agni put out, Drona roars on Kurukshetra so the ground shakes under his chariot wheels. But before the duel can resume, Nakul and Sahadev, Bhim and Yudhishthir ride to Satyaki's side. In a moment, Drishtaman, in a fresh chariot, Virat and Keke brothers are beside him as well. And from the Kaurav ranks, Dushashan with a score of his brothers arrives to fight for Drona. The battle spreads. The battle spreads out again as the armies fall at each other. Though he has been frustrated in his attempt on Yudhishthir and is furious at the Yadav responsible, Drona is still warrior enough, artist enough to admire the reluctant valor of the young Satyaki. Deep into the enemy's army. The sun rises to his zenith. and begins his descent in the sky. Blazing midday finds Arjun and Krishna battling not just the Kaurav army, but time himself. Arjun is twice as fierce as when he began, and Krishna's horses respond not just to the reins he holds, but his very thought. Like steeds of light they flit, weaving dizzily through the enemy, while Arjun's arrows cut a hard path ahead of them. But unlike the Pandav and his dark Sarthi, the white horses begin to tire. Their careen through two dense views has been long and hard, and nearing the end of Drone's lotus, they turn sluggish. Their coats are drenched in sweat, there is a foam at their mouths, and their flanks are bloody with arrows. Those unearthly horses given to Arjun by Chitrasen the Gandharva cannot be killed, but they do tire, and their bodies heave from thirst. Jayadratha is still far away, beyond the final petal of the lotus, three-fourths of a cross from Arjun, and the greatest Kaurav warriors stand between the Pandav and his prey. The sun sinks in the west, and the Kaurav soldiers are heartened by the sight of the exhausted horses. Seeing the white chariot slow to a crawl, the Avanti brothers, Vind and Anuvind, right at Arjun in the hope that speed will give them a telling advantage. They roar a challenge at the Pandav. They cover not just him, but his thirsty horses and his blue sarthi with arrows. Blinding Arjun breaks the bows in their hands, but Krishna can hardly maneuver his chariot anymore. His horses slow to a walk, panting. Seizing the chance, Vind attacks Arjun from ahead and Anuvind from the rear. How will he resist them both when Yudmanyu and Utmanoj have been left far behind and have rejoined Drishtuman's legion? But Arjun will not let anyone hold him up. On another day, he may have indulged himself in a prolonged duel with the gifted brothers. Today, he takes Vind's head off his neck with a crescent tipped shaft and bloodies Aruvind's chest before cutting off his arms and legs and then his head. Crying out, the Kauravas swarm at the white chariot from every side. Arjun swivels where he stands, the Gandhiv spewing an iridescence of arrows all around him. He holds them off as fresh as when he began, killing hundreds. Then he tells Krishna the horses are wounded and thirsty. They will not reach Jadvat unless they rest. Krishna replies, they must be unyoked and their wounds tended. They must drink or they will drop. But how? He sounds worried. He wonders if he should raise the Panchanya and blow a rishab on it. But Arjun says calmly, unyoke them, Krishna, let them rest. Here, it is as good a place as any, smiles the Pandav. You tend to them, I will fight on foot. Arjun climbs down from the chariot. He looks like Kamdev, standing there with the Gandiv in his hands, as if it were the love god's sugarcane bow. The Kaurav roar to each other. Look, Arjun's horses can't run anymore. He stands helpless on the ground. This is the time to kill him, surround him, cover him with arrows. So they do, running at him in excitement. But too soon, Arjun on the ground is deadlier than Arjun in his chariot. Rushing forward recklessly, thinking they have him at their mercy now, they hardly see the Pandav move. But a tide of arrows rises around him. It sweeps in every direction and turns into a red wave of screams. The Kaurav soldiers shrink from him, gripped by a fear deeper than the fear of death. Arjun stands, a flame of Kurukshetra, and there is nothing his enemies can do about him. As disdainfully as he slew them from his chariot, he slaughters them standing on the earth. Krishna says, there is no water anywhere. How will the horses drink? Hardly as if he was fighting a battle, Arjun replies, but my lord, there is water just behind you. Look. Between scathing volleys, he invokes Varunastra. At once, where a moment ago there was only arid ground with hardly a blade of grass growing, a lake shimmers in the noonday sun. Its surface covers with lotuses, white swans floating there. That water is sweet and clear, bounded on all sides by Arjun's incredible arrows. There is even a fine pavilion on its banks with the steps leading down to the water, all made of arrows. Krishna laughs aloud. The corps of soldiers stand gaping. The Dark One unyokes his horses and leads them to the sparkling lake. First he lets them drink, then gently plucks out the barbs that stick in their sides. He speaks softly to them all the while. He has tears in his eyes that they were hurt. Meanwhile, the Koro soldiers have stopped fighting. Instead, they cry to each other. A lake with one arrow, with lotuses and swans. How inviting it seems. I would rather swim in Arjun's lake than fight him. Look, cries another soldier, pointing to the sky. Flights of water birds, goose, and ducks. Ibis and teal have spotted the lake from on high and glide down on its cool blueness, and the core of legions enchanted stand watching Krishna tend to the 11 horses with boundless love. So tranquil is his dark face, so absorbed as if he is not on brutal Kurukshetra, surrounded by a million bloodthirsty enemies, but back in Vrindavan with his gopis on the banks of a charmed pool in that forest. In no hurry at all, he washes the blood from their wounds, healing them with his touch. He strokes their sides, speaking to them in a tongue of the Gandharvas. When he has rubbed them down, he splashes them with the crisp water, lets them drink again to their heart's content, their thirst quenched, their spirits revived. The pale horses toss their heads and whinny to show they are ready to be roped again. The wonderful beasts know, as well as any man on Kurukshetra, that this is an exceptional day and there is a critical mission on hand. Still in no hurry, Krishna yokes his horses once more, taking his time. He brings the chariot to his Kshatriya. With no sign of being pressed for time himself, Arjun climbs back into it, and this complete calm in the face of a rapidly westering sun unnerves the Kaurav army. Seeing Arjun's miracle with the lake, seeing how confident both he and Krishna are, Duryodhan's soldiers have no doubt that Jayadratha will die before the sun sets. At last, the Pandav's chariot sets out towards Jayadratha again, their morale destroyed by his cool assurance. Now Duryodhan's men make easy prey for him. Like the wind in Devlok, fly the white horses, in moments leaving 1,000 men dead in their wake. Arjuna and Krishna arrive at the very end of Drone's formidable Padam and they smash through the last petals of the lotus. Ahead lies the needle made of the Kaurav Maharatikas, with Jayadratha at its eye. Now Krishna and Arjuna actually see that king for the first time since the day's fighting began. Covering in his chariot, his face ashen, Jayadratha sees them as well. He knows the two of Drone's invisible views have fallen apart at Arjun's advent, and just a slender stalk of warriors separate him from death. He stands shaking in his chariot. Arjuna forges a mirror. Then a roar goes up from the corps of soldiers. Suddenly another royal wrath breaks out of the sharp tip of the switchy. In it his lean form covered in golden mail stands a dark Kshatriya, determined he will stop the Pandav. It is Duryodhan come to fight for Jayadratha, as if that king's life is his own. Duryodhan come to see that the sun sets on Arjun's defeat. Krishna says to Arjun, be careful. Remember, a desperate man fights like 10 others. Duryodhan hasn't faced you yet. Show him what it means to fight Arjun. Kill this one man, and the war will end. Arjun says softly, here is the man who caused us years of grief, who broke my brother's heart. He has so much to pay for, but I wonder how he comes to fight me so boldly today. Duryodhan stands laughing at his chariot and cries, come, cousin, fight. I have heard all about the astras you have. Show me your valor. Quick as love, he shoots 10 arrows at them. Black fire, Krishna and Arjun cry out. Arjun replies with a volley sharp as serpent's fangs. His arrows glance off Duryodhan, and the chorus laughter rocks the field. Is this the best you can do? I fear for your life if it is. And another potent volley has Krishna crying. His arrows are like poison. I have never felt such pain before. The Dark One swings his chariot here and there to avoid Duryodhan's shafts. Arjun shoots back 100 astras, each of which would have killed 100 men, but they graze off Duryodhan like green stems of flowers. His hooded eyes flash at them. His exultant roaring is louder still. Krishna assumes that Arjun does not shoot fiercely enough at his cousin. To goad the Pandav, he says, Duryodhana masters you effortlessly, and the sun plunges down like a fishing hawk. We might as well admit we are beaten and turn back. Arjun cries, why do you mock me, Krishna? It's not Duryodhan we are fighting, but Brahma's golden kavach in which Drona has wrapped him. Look how it shines under his tunic. But I have the astra to pierce this armor. Indra gave it to me in Amravati. Stung by another shaft like fire, Krishna cries, then use it quickly. Time slips away from us. Arjun sets a silver arrow to his bow. He invokes the Manavastra with which Ram once killed Marich. The arrow is a band of lava in his hands. Arjun draws his bowstring to his ear. Put in a blur, another archer cuts that shaft in two. The astra vanishes with a hiss of anger. Arjun whirls around to see Ashwatthama grinning at him. Arjun roars his frustration. I cannot summon the Manavastra again. It will kill me the next time. But watch me, Krishna. I have a way to make him run. Look how the fool wears his priceless mail like a bullock carrying a treasure on its back, never knowing its worth, and the kavach doesn't cover all of him. Arjun aims some slender shafts like needles at the exposed parts of Duryodhan's body. He shoots at his cousin's fingers. The fine barbs pierce the coarse nails and strike deep into his palms. Wringing his hands, Duryodhan flings down his bow and screams to his Sarthi to ride away. Krishn's delighted laughter rings across Kurukshetra. Not 2 hours remain before sunset. The Maharathikas of the Shuchimukh view and their armies surround Arjun's chariot. So Krishna can hardly maneuver. They are still 2 leagues from Jayadratha. Krishna cries, pull on your bowstring, Arjun. Let me hear the thunder of the deep. As at some great veena, Arjun pulls at the string of the bow. The war resounds with a twanging. Exhilarated Krishna raises the panchanya of the hue of clouds to his lips and blows blast after blast at the sky. These sounds reverberate across Kurukshetra and Jayadratha trembles even more in his chariot. As if in response to the challenge, Bhurishwa, Shal, Karan, Varishsena, Krip, Shalya, and Ashwathama attack Arjun at once. 8 Kshatriyas with their legions, but Arjun is godlike. He sees only Jayadratha before his mind's eye. All these others are leaves in his way to be brushed aside. Prodigious Ashwathama has his fire returned to him tenfold, so he faints in his chariot. Karan, Varishen, and Shalya attack the Pandav in a knot. Tremendous Arjun routs them all and the others that bar his way to Jagrat. Krishna looks up and sees the rim of the sun not far above the western mountain. Arjun's heart skips a beat when he follows his Sarthi's gaze, but neither of them will show by so much as a flicker on their faces how anxious they are, though perhaps Arjun's archery bears a trace of desperation. While to Krishna and his warrior, the sun seems to fall like a meteor in the sky. To their enemies, the star appears to sink so slowly it takes a lifetime to go down. So we'll stop here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadai Purnameva Visheshyate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you very much.
You very much. Thank you to you, Hershji. It's fun reading together, even though I had read it before. And I still don't understand the meaning of this VYUH